Hello, everybody. Apologize for the short delay. We're already here with René, who will talk for CloudStack and Ansible. Welcome, René, to the CloudStack European User Group.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Yvette, and thanks, Giles, for inviting me. Yes, today's topic from my side is CloudStack with Ansible. And I get started quickly. So who am I? I'm René Moser, also known as Resmo. I'm a PMC member of Apache CloudStack and author of several integrations in Ansible, of course, CloudStack and also others. I'm also the owner of NGen, which is a company which is focused on creating products and services around cloud computing and automation. I'm also the author of the second edition of Ansible up and running by O'Reilly. The third edition is currently in early release, written by Bas, which is also active member of the Ansible community. And if you need to get started with Ansible or need a deep dive into Ansible, this is a good start among other great books. So today's agenda, I will give a bit of a history of a context, how the project, the CloudStack Ansible integration has started. And then I will give a brief introduction in Ansible. And the third part will be a demo, which I didn't record at all. So I hope the demo gods will be with me.
René, can we just ask you to move your microphone a little bit closer to your mouth and if possible to increase a little bit the volume of the microphone?
Okay, a little bit of history and the demo. So some background. In 2013, almost 10 years ago, I started at a company as a puppet engineer, and this was the company was part of the Swiss National Broadcast Union. And my job at that time was to or even in Switzerland is a relatively small country. We have 8 million inhabitants with 4 languages and three independent TV stations. So our task was to centralize the IT and the broadcasters to save costs and optimize the IT. And CloudStack was a key component of that optimization. And my part was to build tools around the to automation and Puppet was the de facto standard. Ansible was still early and a hobby project, so I knew of Ansible, but at that time it was not really well established. And in September, I realized, or during that time, I realized that Puppet was not really the best solution for creating cloud infrastructure. And I hacked the first few modules, and at that time I was not really, or I didn't write much Python at all, and you can see that, of course, in the first modules, I guess. And but I got really quickly up and running and was ready. And in April 2015, the first few modules was merged upstream to Ansible. I must say this was not before Red Hat, and it was. I think it was right before they even had a company at all. And part of the success was that I was able to use the test simulator of CloudStack, which I used to test my things, and I could prove my work. And the testing simulator was also then inspiration for other cloud modules inside Ansible. So there was, I think, was a VMware simulator, or which I know of, and also other simulators or API mocks that was created to have a testing thing. And then quickly, my goal was to fully configure CloudStack from zero with Ansible. So not just user focused, but also admin focused. So quick forward, in 2020, Raphael from Cellpacks gave a talk last year that he reached my goal. So he created or they created CloudStack CloudStack clouds from hardware and by using Ansible. Currently, we have 53 plugins and a test coverage of 85%, which is actually high for a testing infrastructure or the cloud things. It's not really easy to do. As I said, we have a simulator, so that's for us it's good. And the future, I need to catch up with the CloudStack API again, but I'm not really into running CloudStack at the moment, so I have not. My focus is not having CloudStack, but this will change the future, and I also have to focus on increasing test coverage and also testing unreleased CloudStack versions. Probably also refactor some modules, the early ones with the learnings I had the last couple of years, and also provide probably an out-of-the-box CloudStack configuration setup. So let me quickly get you into Ansible. So what is Ansible? Ansible is a CLI tool. It's SSH engineless, so you can. It's mainly focused on, or the focus was at the beginning to configure VMs, and it's written in Python. And you may ask, why Ansible? And this is a very good question, because there are other tools around. And I think the key part, or the key is that it is extensible. It has a lot of plugins, so you can extend it in any way, and this makes it very easy to work with, to get your job done. There are currently 6,600 only task plugins only. So there are more plugins, of course, but this is task plugins are the things that really are the main parts, and you use task plugins for configuring like VMs, as I said, or also clouds, network devices, firewalls, hardware, firewall hardware, and so on. So it is really the heart of Ansible. And it's flexible. It's flexible in a way that you can use it just with your current infrastructure. You can just automate some parts, it integrates well, and you can grow. You can go on, or you can, of course, greenfield. You can use for clouds, for hardware, for basically everything. So it's really, really a great tool. But there are also downsides. I mean, it's not a solution. It's more like a toolbox, a framework. And if you don't like a toolbox or framework, it's probably not the best solution for you. It still runs only on Linux. You can, it's CLI based. You can use the Windows subsystem for Linux, of course, which I use daily on Windows, but it does not run natively on Windows. And it's you see a lot of YAML files, which I like, but you see a lot of YAML nowadays. So this is also YAML. How does it work? Ansible has a controller. Also, where you run Ansible, that's the controller in my terms. The Ansible is installed on one machine, basically. And you gave it an inventory, a list of hosts, so to call. And this inventory can be static, but it can also be dynamic. So it can have a plugin, is also a plugin, of course. You can have a plugin for CloudStack as well, or we have a plugin for CloudStack, and you can use it to gather all hosts on your CloudStack account or project, and use it as to connect to them or to take action on it. To take action, you use playbooks, which are a list of tasks, basically. So you have the controller, and you connect to SSH by SSH to your infrastructure or to your VMs. But of course, if you don't have any VMs on your cloud yet, then you have to create those VMs first, and that's what we do with our Ansible integration, of course. And so we, on our controller, we don't use SSH, so we execute, or it's meant to execute the controller locally on your system and connect to the API of CloudStack. And then CloudStack will, of course, create those VMs for you, and you basically wait until they got created and they are accessible, and then you connect to them by SSH and configure them. So that was the plan, and that's realized. Okay, so we can not only create VMs, of course, by using the API. We create many things: security groups, rules, networks, SSH keys, and affinity groups. That's what you will see in the demos. And it is not only creating, but it is like idempotence. Idempotency means that you define what you like to have, and Ansible creates it, and if it exists, it doesn't do anything. So it's safe to say that you can run Ansible and Ansible over again, and you end up in the same state that you defined. So it's not a script or something, so it's like stateful. But Ansible does not store the state. It always asks the remote for the current state. So it does not have a database or something. Instead, it always gathers the state from live from the system. Of course, this has some cost. It's not the fastest thing to do, but it's really, you can change it. Your systems, like stopping your VM, and Ansible will notice that on the next run and start it again if you define that it has to be started. So that's what I already explained, identity, but it's also it has a difficulty because sometimes you define something that you probably don't want. And this is, as an example, I will show you an example, some code. And this is one task. And it uses, it has a name, of course. Give it a name, and the next second line is the task which is be executed. It has params, and the task is to use the this instance, which is the instance virtual machine instance API, and I parameterized this API to create the virtual machine. And as you can see, it has a name, its own template, all straightforward. Service offering a key and user data for first cloud init configuration, and it has a state %. So if we run this, it will create a VM that is running, because you can only have VMs that are running or stopped. And the default is running. But we didn't say that it has to be run. So if you stop a VM afterwards and you run the same task again, it will not start the VM because it exists, it's present, and this is the default. So we have to be explicitly in your params to define the state. So what we do is we, in basically every Ansible module, is to gather the state. So find the VM, have we found it? Yes or no? Then no, of course we create it. And if we have found it, we have to compare that if it's different or not, and then update it or not. Sounds easy. It sounds easier than it is, because sometimes if you change the service offering, you probably will know that you probably have to reboot your VMs. And in a productive environment, it's probably not the thing you want to change an offering, to reboot a system. And change the offering. So we make this bulletproof a bit, and added a param force, which you can use to use it and say, Ansible, it is safe to reboot this machine. I want this data to have, and reboot the machine. So you can see on the next line of the following line of service offering, you see the force equal true, which is indicating that you want to like to reboot the system if needed. So to work with these tasks, it is nowadays common to use roles. Roles is like a tier structure of task templates and files related to a topic, and this, oh, there's a typo there. This is a package format for distributing functionality, and it you can download and use many packages or roles, and they are the great things are they are configurable, and so they are easy to use in different environments or customers and situations. So you can configure them as well. So we make a role for Exoscale. Exoscale is the public cloud which offers a CloudStack API, and it has a subset of this CloudStack API, and we make a role which only has some tasks which are related to this minimalized CloudStack API. You can find it in the internets on Galaxy. Galaxy is a shared package hosting of Ansible, and it can be an inspiration if you have a cloud running for your customers. You can build a similar thing for your customers and in your CloudStack setup, for your CloudStack setup. So before we get to the demo, these are my coordinates. You can find me on GitHub. This talk, or the code of this talk, will also be on GitHub as well, somewhere. And yeah, Twitter and web.
René, just to let you know, you have approximately 15 minutes for the demo, and hope we can be on time.
Yes, I think we are on time. So the demo is, you see a typical Ansible setup, which we do. We deploy two stages, a staging and a prod setup, which is staging is already running, and prod we are going to deploy. And I will show also idempoc, a stopper VM, and offering change. That's what I do. So I switch to our little setup. Can you see that well, Iveta? Can you see that well?
Yep, we can see your screen pretty well.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, you see my inventory. So we have here a prod which has two web servers grouped by web, and in the staging environment, we only have one staging web server, and these are grouped into also in staging group and in a production group. So in our inventory, I have also two groups for prod, which I say which zone will be used, private network for prod. And in the staging environment, you can see a different zone. And here we say in staging, it's safe to reboot machine if we need to. So these configurations are part of the role which allows to change things. So we can quickly discover the setting. If I go to rows, Exoscale, you see here tasks, and in the main part, in the main YAML, you see here our CS instance, and you can see here the setting force Exoscale server allow reboot, and if it's true, then this is forced. It's also true, so we can reboot the machine. Okay, so we changed to our Exoscale UI. You can see here we have a web server already running, which has a security group in staging web, and is also in, where is it? In affinity group staging web. So to say, we have a staging web security group which has rules, and we have affinity group staging web, and the network staging private network. So switch back to the console, and I now execute the playbook, which is which creates this machine. So it first just execute for staging. You can see all green, so it really checks every state, and if it's green, then nothing will be changed or has to be changed, and if it's not green, then it has to be, or would change anything, or had to change a thing. So we run this through the first time, and then I make a quick shortcut for not showing everything. So we can see everything is running. We have here a web server. If I go to this web server, we get the host name of the web server. Now, if you go back to our staging setup, we say that we'd like to change the default offering here in staging groups to something different than tiny. So let's small. And if I execute it with only the Exoscale parts, you can see that because it is allowed to reboot, it will reboot the machine. And you can also see that here that it's already booted, stopped it and started again with a new offering small. If you change this back to tiny and disable this functionality, you can see that it will print the warning that it is not allowed to restart, stop and start this machine. So you get information that something would be happen, but it's safe to say that okay, we have to force that to change that. If it's all like we want to have, we can just change the inventory to our production one and say prod, and then it will create all the things, all security groups, affinity groups, private network for that stage with a prefix of prod. And of course, this will take some time. When we switch to our view, you can see that it's have to already You started and deployed 2 virtual machines. It has created another security group just for the prod with those instances in it, and also affinity group prod with those instances in it. And if it has finished, so when it's finished, then we can access the web server. This is all live, so nothing recorded. I like that. Gives me a little kick in the morning. So just 2 tasks, and we get the IPs. Let me copy them, and then if I open them, you see prod web 1 and prod no, it didn't work. Copy again, the second one. So our infrastructure is deployed and running, and we can now go to our database. No, that's it for today. I hope I could show that it's really easy to go with Ansible. It's straightforward. It's not in the way. It helps you to get your job done, to achieve the things you want to do, and yeah. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, René, for the demo and for the presentation. We have 2 questions currently on the Q&A. I will start with the first question, which is how can people get started with contributing changes to this? For example, say a new feature or set of APIs such as for CKS.
So currently the Ansible has separated into there's a core component of Ansible which doesn't change much. So part of the maintenance is made by Red Hat or IBM, and the CloudStack part is located at Engine on GitHub. So if you like to extend the CloudStack functionality, which then gets into the Ansible community package later on every release of Ansible, you can make pull requests on GitHub. It's can quickly go to it on github.com engine.io, and there's a collection, so to say, which has all the plugins. So you go to plugins and you see all the modules, and you can add a module or a plugin there. And I will review it and merge it. I have a few other maintainers which also help me with reviewing.
And one more question for idempotent. Don't you have to be careful to program state retrieval yourself?
Yes, also this is what we do. We gather the state from the API, and we compare it with the state we want. And it's then we have to decide if you can change the state or have to delete or recreate a thing. So in society security rules, we cannot change them. So we have to remove them and recreate them. Or we decided to use it this way. But yes, this is really a challenge always, yeah, to find a way to get to the state, or sometimes it's not possible. You cannot change the template. Template is only relevant by creation, so you cannot change the template. And CloudStack would be nonsense to destroy a VM. Just you define another template and recreate the VM. So we try to focus on the common sense of things and focus on the administration view of how I would do it. Yeah.
Thank you, René, for the answer. I think we don't have any questions more at this stage, but I would definitely invite you to join the lounge zone, and some people would be happy to have a talk with you on Ansible and to continue the discussion.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks, Iveta, for the organization, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure for us to host you. Next talk is starting in 5 minutes, so I'm inviting everybody to join it.